I've been outside getting money, I'm on my thug again. Tryna stack a little dub, tryna catch a win. And next time I drop a coupe, it's gonna be a twin turbo. Always been a G, but I ain't never been a herb though. Way I'm switching lanes.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Millennial Mentality podcast. I'm your host, Nick Agnelli, here with my co-host, Peter Price.
Yo.
And we are back, season 2.
So back.
I put up 3 fingers when I said season 2. It's
Season 2.
Guys, we are back, and we are so happy to be back. As we kind of let off at the end of last year, it was a lot for us to be able to balance our work and what we were trying to build there, along with our personal life and the podcast in itself. You know,
Yeah.
it takes a lot of energy, and mentally, we didn't want to do this and not fully be here. We wanted to be present and continue to love this like we do. We didn't want it to feel like work. So with that being said, we're going to kind of catch you guys up to where we are now, 4 or 5 months later. And
It's been like 3.
you think?
Maybe
November.
4.
No, December, January, February. Yeah, so hopefully 3.
But yeah, it's gone by so fast,
Yeah.
I feel like. So much has changed.
Time is crazy. So, Pete, how about you catch everyone up on where you're at?
Well, fuck, man. There's been a lot going on. I think kind of where we left off with the last episode, we were talking about the tattoo shop coming to fruition, which you've obviously been a giant part of. For those who aren't familiar with that last episode or what's been going on, Nick and I took on a space in North Palm Beach, which Nick completely demoed from the ground up and rebuilt, and I'm very grateful that I was able to be a part of that, and so Nick has his office space for Agnelli Enterprise, and then I've got my space for my tattoo shop in the Biz Inc., and that's really where we've been for the last few months. Nick was putting in overtime, getting the place up and ready, and I mean working his full day of being a GC and on his job sites that he normally worked, and then was coming here after that day of work to get this place built. So I mean that's really where we've been. It was taking a lot out of both of us to get ready for that, and I mean financially for me, I just had a lot of preparing to do as far as tattooing every fucking day to get money put away so that I could afford to get this place full of the equipment that I needed to and get everything ready to go by the time it was ready. So I mean for the last 3 months I've been tattooing 7 days a week in preparation for this, and then even once we got the place open, now I've got this new overhead, and just to make sure I can stay afloat, ever since we stopped recording the podcast, I've just been tattooing 7 days a week. That's really been it. Even Nick, I'm forever grateful for the work that you put in to help make this happen, because it was really, it was cool to be a part of it, and it was cool to kind of watch the whole thing develop literally from the ground up. I mean, this was a doctor's office that was built like 25 years ago, probably. Looked absolutely awful. The floor plan made no sense. It was just a bunch of tiny little rooms. We came in here with fucking sledgehammers and gloves and knocked every wall down, knocked everything to bits, and built it from the ground up. So it was really cool to be a part of that, not only being able to open the tattoo shop, which is amazing. And
Is that the first time you've been involved in designing a space?
Like,
I want this floor in here. I want this trim in here.
A little bit. I mean, when 123 Datura first opened, I was able to kind of consult a little bit on how we wanted the bar to be laid out, and just from my experience that I had working behind the bar, they wanted my insight on, where should the wells be, where should the trash cans go, because that bar was built from nothing also, so they really got to design the exact specs of the bar. So, but I mean, that was a very small taste. There were so many hands in the pot on that project that it was like, Pete, what do you think about this? And I was like, yeah, it looks good, man. I mean, as far as how hands-on we were able to be with this, that, it's my first experience doing something like that. And it was really cool. It makes it that much more special to be in here now.
Because it's your personal touch on it.
Right, having been a part of it from the beginning. It's super cool. Because that wasn't really in my mind. Like, I was already looking for commercial spaces when you found the spot. And I wasn't really planning on building something out, I was just looking for a space that was ready to be moved into,
Like an executive suite or something like that.
Sure, or even, any commercial space that's just a big rectangular room would do the job, All it needs is drywall and fucking...
That's it.
To be ready to go, and that's all I needed, so... It was really cool to be able to even be a part of the demo, you know, to be a part of that process from start to finish was more than what I ever really imagined, and it was a lot of fun. It was really cool.
I don't think that's something that's touched on a lot. You know, you made that point about, you know, with making these moves for small business owners, like, you know, reinvesting in having an office space or reinvesting in equipment or tools or whatever it is. You are literally taking money and putting it in the business, but you're not only doing that, you're literally taking money out of your pocket and putting it into the business. And, you know, when you buy, let's just say, $5,000 worth of tools, that's literally like me taking out $5,000 cash and throwing it into something, right? Which is a smart investment and an investment I care about. Yeah. But it's a risk nonetheless. And it's money that you're not using for rent and money that you're not using for groceries. So that's the crazy balancing act with it too, is you're not only having to work exponentially more to build, you're also taking away from several aspects that you're also trying to balance and make sure that you're still good, but also eat.
Yeah. And that work that you're having to put in that's extra, it's not typically just temporary, you know, for buying the equipment, but now you've got this new rent over your head. So it's like that, you know, you're just taking on additional expenses, you know, and we've talked about it plenty of times on the podcast before, where as we get older and older, it seems like our monthly expenses just continue to go up and up. And this was a huge one, you know, where, you know, a third of my monthly expenses just got tacked on again, you know. And
what other monthly expenses did you add on recently, Peter? You want to tell me about
okay.
that?
So there's been a few other developments in my life in the meantime. I did a little bit of an impulse buy, which this was on our last episode too. I had already had the motorcycle, so I got a new Yamaha R1, which I am absolutely in love with. I love that thing. But in hindsight, probably wasn't the wisest choice, but things kind of changed, you know? So at the time when I bought the R1, it's because I was planning on buying like a beater car. You know, I was going to spend $7,000 or something cash on something that, you know, was 10 years old, had 100 and something thousand miles on it, and it was just so I could commute from my home to the shop. And that plan didn't work out because, you know, the person who I was planning on buying the car from, it just, you know, wound up not playing out the way it was supposed to. It wasn't available. I waited months and months and months for it to become available. And eventually I got impatient. And also I think hanging out with you a little bit rubbed off on me. Spending all this time at the shop, getting the place ready to go, seeing you pull up in a nice lifted truck every day. And then even when you went out of town, you let me borrow the truck so I could get the tool chests in here. Driving the truck was a lot of fun.
Did you have fun with it?
Yeah, absolutely. I loved it. There's something about sitting up high and above everyone else that's cool,
People
man.
think it's like a small dick energy to have a lifted thing. Listen, I like the aesthetic of it. I like the look of it. But I am a short person, so I like sitting up higher, bro. Like,
sure.
I like sitting. And once you're used to it, like, obviously I drive in it every day. When I'm in a car driving, I feel literally like an ant. I feel so small.
It's nice, dude. It's so
Did you do anything
spacious.
reckless in it? You can tell me.
No, not at all. I've been babying it so far. I'm almost shocked that I haven't gotten a car wash since I got it, because I thought I was going to be like a freak about keeping it pristine and like clean and crispy all the time. I haven't gotten a car wash since I got it.
I'll let you in on a secret, Pete, in the truck club.
Yeah. It's cool to have a dirty truck.
It's almost a little cooler to have some dirty truck.
I guess, to a certain extent, you know, like...
Because, you know, us truck guys, if we see, like, a pristine...
You talking about us truck guys?
Yeah.
Like, I'm in the club? Yeah.
It's like 6 months in, you get it, right? But when you look at a truck and it's really pristine, I always think, like, what, are you trying to compensate for something? Or are you just OCD clean? But truck and OCD clean are never, like, really on the same vibe.
Well, so I don't know if I even announced, I beat around the bush. Nick let me borrow his truck, and I think that really sold me. I went and got a truck. So
it's a fact, though. Truck is here.
I got a brand new 2023 GMC Sierra 1500 elevation package, which I love, dude. I wish I would have done this 6 months ago.
Yeah.
But to be honest, it probably worked out exactly how it was supposed to, which is how I feel about most things in my life. If I would have spent the money on that, I would have been more hesitant to take on the shop, you know, because I mean that's $1,000 a month expense right there. on top of, you know, the rent here and everything that I had to buy to fill the place with what it needed to have. So it probably worked out exactly how it was supposed to. I'm glad that I, you know, locked down the shop first, got the place filled with everything it needed, and then at the end of the day, I needed a way to commute to the shop, you know, and that was just the trigger that I pulled. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm super fucking happy with it. I love the truck so much. And
Every household, I think, needs a truck. Whether, I don't care if it's male, female, but I think every household. I mean, you're an adult. You're moving a lot. You're picking up shit. You know.
all the moving I did in the last year, it would have been clutch.
I know. So
JoJo wants the exact same thing now.
a truck?
Yeah, she wants my truck. She's like, I'm gonna go get the same one.
No shit. I can literally see it happening too.
I think it'd be super cute if JoJo drove that thing.
Same color?
She wants a black one.
What color? What color truck did you get?
I got it's like a gunmetal gray, which is it matches the bike.
Really?
Yeah, it's the same gray as the bike. That's not what I went there for though. I really wanted a white one, to be honest.
I'm glad you did get white.
I've always had white cars my whole life. I wanted the white one.
Did they not have white?
They had one, but dude, it was marked up like an extra $10,000 because it had special air in the tires and a paint protection film.
That doesn't make sense.
Dude, special air in the tires? Get the fuck out of here, dude. So anyway, they
It's almost like they sent out a memo email that said, okay, fuck with one car a week and see if someone bites.
Yeah.
And that was the charge.
Sure, someone out there was like, ooh, the nitro tires? Yeah, I need those.
So, yeah.
So yeah, I wanted the white one. I went there for the white one. Couldn't justify the extra expense just because of the stupid packages they put on it. And they didn't have a black one. Black was my second choice, but they didn't have one.
Wow.
So I got the gray. But I'm super happy with the gray. You know, like I said, it matches the motorcycle, so that's pretty sweet.
It's a masculine, clean look.
I love it, man. I'm so happy with it.
Gray on black rims, too.
Yeah, black rims, for sure.
So, yeah, some things have happening. As far as me in my life, so the last 3 months, guys, have been pretty insane. I've basically gone into somewhat of a hibernation mode, which I am, pulling out slowly now. I don't like
hibernation's the wrong term, I feel like.
Yeah,
because that means you've been sleeping a lot.
Some would say like grind mode, but that's like too like The Rock, you know.
Sure.
I guess what I realized is, so we decided to lease this office end of September. And the way the lease worked out, they gave us basically 3 months rent-free to build it out. They knew the space had to be demoed and altered.
Which was clutch. I mean, I don't think you normally get that in most deals.
No, but the place as is, again, was 25 years old. It looked like a ghost town, doctor's office. It was, eerie, and I knew I was going to have to gut it. The problem was, we have jobs running. I'm full-time hands-on. At that time, Kevin was just coming on. Mm-hmm. And
shout out Papa Taco.
Shout out Papo. And, that was a huge learning change for me as well, becoming just a sole proprietor to having an employee. And so there was a lot going on at once. And when I had decided to take the office and make it happen, because in reality, if not when, then now, then in this opportunity, it's literally on the fucking doorstep of the community I work in every single day, 2 seconds away. It just the exact space we needed, we could get. And across every single barrier of my quote-unquote checklist, it hit. So I thought to myself, okay, there's two options. Either you pull back and, defer it to another time, which when would that be? Or you pull the trigger, and these next few months are going to be fucking insane. And at that time, I also knew I had a full-time employee coming on January 1st of this year. So a lot was going on. I decided to pull the trigger, get the space. Pete and I, kind of came together with this concept. And it was stressful. The way I attacked the stress was becoming just literally obsessed with it. I mean, I was here 7 days a week. I'm sorry, I got caught now. Quick break.
DC break.
Yeah,
DC
quick
break.
DC. I was here legitimately 7 days a week for basically 2.5 months straight. Not because I wanted to be here. When you think of the way I would describe being in our position, I'm not saying our position is better or worse than you. You might be an employee and make more money as me as a business owner. I'm not saying where I'm 100%. At is different. But in our position, I describe it as like having a child. In the fact of when the baby comes out, you have to watch it for fucking 20 hours a day, if not more. You're watching it literally every minute because of baby monitor, and you're thinking about it constantly, and it's always on your mind. And any little squeak or this, you're going to the doctors or you're paranoid. And starting a business is almost like that in the same aspect of when your child smiles for the first time, it changes your life. When the child is born, it changes your life. And as you see the child grow and learn and form, you're like, this is worth every bit of effort I put into it. And so when it comes to our position and where we're at now, it's at that point where, okay, I've decided to become a parent in this, term, and holy fuck, I'm going to have to dedicate my basically life to this for the next short term. And it's either that or it's not going to happen. Or if it does happen, it's going to not work out as planned. So I nutted up, and I decided to just attack it full-heartedly. And some days I was in here and miserable. I was sweating. Pete could tell you my face was just like, don't talk to me, bro. I'm white. And
there was also some days when I'd come in and he'd be like, oh, man, I'm glad you're here. I've been here for 14 hours by myself talking to the walls.
It was insanity, man. And, like, I'm becoming more singularly focused in my life in the fact of, I love my lifelong best friends, and I will always be, loving to them. But now I spend time with my wife. Like, I go out to dinner with my wife, and we do dates, and like, that is first and foremost who I want to have that experience with and fun with. And we went on a vacation recently, and it was awesome. But the older I get, I'm finding that less and less matter to me in the world. It's my core group of best friends. It's my family. It's my team and the people that work with me every day. It's the people that have shown me respect and love, and I don't really care about all the other bullshit. To be frank, I told you this. Money is meaning a lot less to me these days. I like materialistic things, but to be frank, I haven't bought a materialistic thing in over a year. I bought Paige a bike for her birthday, and that's what I bought. I bought the e-bike. That's literally all I've bought in this past year. And
we'll throw up the clip of the e-bike. Yeah. You riding the e-bike.
Dude, I go 20 to 22 miles an hour. No big deal. I think they said I need a license plate, too.
No.
Possibly. But it was overwhelming some days. It was stressful some days. Some days I came here and just smiled because I looked at my progress. And as it started really coming together, man, I tell you what, there was some times where I was leaving this place tearing up. Because, like I said, it's like watching your child step for the first time or do something, and it was like you have those emotions because you envision this in your head. You picture it in your head, okay, I'm going to have an office one day. What is that going to look like? What is that going to feel like? I'm going to have employees what day? What is that camaraderie going to be like? And how am I going to be a leader and all this stuff? And when you see it come together and you see truly all your hard work and effort that you put in start to bear fruit, there's really nothing better in the world of a feeling. And truly proud of yourself for putting in the work quietly. I wasn't on Instagram every day. I mean, I did post like 2 or 3 thirst traps, but
thirst traps.
That was a joke, dad joke. But I did this in silence. I was kind of suffering in silence in the fact of like, dude, I have to have blinders on, and I just have to focus on this. And a lot of the other things in my life could have to take a backseat for a while. I confronted Paige about that. I said, babe, listen, ultimately I'm doing this for us and our family in the future, but you gotta understand these next few months it's going to be that as the priority for right now. You are always the priority when I come home, but during my day, that is it. And she totally understood. She was, she didn't like it, but she understands me working Saturdays and Sundays. And having a partner like that also, too, is one of the biggest blessings in the world. Find someone that supports you and knows you who you are, truly, and supports you and knows that when you're pushing towards those things, especially when you get married, it's for us. It's not for me,
Sure, yeah. It's for your future.
It's for your future. And
I think it's important to have those conversations too, and not just expect the other person to see the work you're putting in and understand. But when you start to feel that friction in one way or another because you're not spending enough time together, or you're coming home and you're upset, or you're stressed out, or you just don't fucking feel like talking, rather than just acting that out, I think it helps a lot that you're good with communication and you can say, this is why I'm acting this way, and it's not because of anything that you're doing. You know, it has nothing to do with you, but it's because I've got a lot on my plate right now, and I just need, you know, you to either understand that, or I need some time at the end of the day to unwind. And just from the conversations we have, it sounds like, you know, you're really good at doing that, and I think that's why your relationship works so well during such a stressful time in your life.
From the jump, and to parallel, like with me and our team now we have 4 employees.
Touch on that, dude, because I mean that's a huge change in the last 4 months.
So along with basically the timeline of the office was beginning of October to.
Was Kevin working for you our last episode yet?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Beginning of October to December, end of December, beginning of January is when we were kind of punching things out here. And during that time, I also knew, again, this wave of people that I've committed to hiring, and that was part of my plan. The office wasn't really, but it kind of became in the plan. And during that process, I decided to make the jump. I always said, in my field, in my opinion, you are either a one-man show or you have to make the jump to hiring a team and handling the volume. You can't be in the middle. Like, I don't usually see 2-man contractor shows or anything like that, because when you start to expand and your locations are different sites, and you have permits going on here, money going there, there's a lot of moving parts in my industry. And if you start to get behind on that, or you can't handle that, and your job starts slipping, it's game. You're done. Game over. And so I knew when I made that jump to pushing the volume and pushing how we grow, I felt that confidence in myself, especially when I literally built this entire fucking office with my 2 hands, every fucking square inch of it. It just gave me so much reassured confidence of like, okay, I thought I knew how to do everything, and then literally I just did everything, you know, from electric to whatever it is. And I was like, fuck it, I'm in. Let's go. So Greg, shout out to Greg Perry. Greg Perry was my second guy who came on behind Kevin.
Happy birthday, Greg.
Happy birthday, Greg. So Kevin came on, I think, beginning of October. And Kevin was really just a shadow for me for the first few months. He was learning construction, green, that was never in the industry before.
And so what made you pull that trigger? Because you brought Kevin on having 0 construction experience, right? What made you put faith in him to want to even do that?
So when it came to Kevin, okay, so I was gearing up again in my head of 2023 to be this, you know, last year was the confidence year and really solidifying my knowledge. 2023 is going to be my leap year of growing and pushing. And Kevin came on the podcast. We had a great chemistry, and I really had a good long conversation with him. You had left at that point, and I really liked his personality. And then we got to talking, and I'm always asking the question. I don't care what field you are. Typically, one of the first questions I ask is, are you happy? And people are thrown by that question, because typically it was like, hey, bro, what's up? Or hey, how you doing? Or this or that. But I asked the question, are you happy? And people always kind of sit for a sec, and they're going through their head. I see a split-second decision of, okay, do I tell them actually how the fuck I'm doing? Or is it it's like, oh, I'm chilling, man, I'm good. And so I asked that question to Kevin before he left, and I said, you know, are you happy? Do you see yourself in this industry? He was at Lenore's at the time, I believe, or with another restaurant group.
I think he was probably working at that time for Henry's, which is an outlet of the Breakers.
Yeah. And so he was not even near my industry at all. But I said to him, I said, listen, Kev, if you ever are considering switching industries and construction is something that you have ever thought about, let's have a conversation. And that's always how I pose it to everyone who is either on my team or who I'm in discussions with bringing on. It's, are you happy? And if you are truly happy, fucking, I will not try to poach you or talk to you about that. Or listen, if you are happy in the position you are at, good for fucking you.
Yeah, totally.
I am on your team. But when 90% of the people I talk to say no, next my question is, and this is tactically because as a business owner I want to know, is why. So they'll explain to me why they're not happy. In Kevin's case, I really forget why. But I said to him, if construction is something you've ever considered, let me know. And we could have a conversation.
I mean, I could tell you. I mean, Kevin comes from, similar to me before tattooing, probably 8 years of being in the restaurant business, and that shit will burn you out.
Yeah.
less management experience than I did, but he managed as well. But even prior to that, being a full-time bartender is what Kevin was. And that's, 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. shifts, and dealing with clients firsthand, which is a great experience, even in the industry that you're in, it translates really well because you need to be able to talk to people and communicate and be personable. But in the bar business, it takes a lot out of you because when people first show up, sometimes they're the best, but after a couple drinks, they turn into a nightmare, and sometimes people are a nightmare from the beginning. But, Kevin was really good at what he did in the hospitality industry, but similar to me, it just takes a toll on you, and it gets really old really fast, and it'll age you quick. And, I think that's just the position Kevin was in. He had done every job in the restaurant under the sun, and it doesn't get more fulfilling necessarily as you climb the ladder. It just gets more stressful and less rewarding a lot of the time too.
Because the further you get up in the ladder, the less you're actually with the people, and the more you're in a managerial.
And as crazy as it sounds, the less you get paid too. Yeah. Bartenders, when I was managing, most of the time the bartenders were making more than I was. Yeah. But I'm the one that they're coming to with every single problem. You're constantly putting out fires. You're constantly solving problems. You're answering every question that everyone has. It's
and getting absolutely your ass ripped out by some asshole for no reason.
And plus the owners too. Depending on who you're working for, it sometimes goes unrecognized most of the time. They don't care how many questions you answered and how many fires you put out. That's your job. That's what you signed up for. And it's for $60K a year. And it's like you signed up for this, so you can't complain about it. So it takes a toll.
It is.
But it also builds a lot of skills that can then be applied in other fields.
Sales. To be frank, I'll be real with you. There is a lot of things in being in hospitality that could translate to basically any industry. Yeah. But I would say construction and hospitality are on opposite sides of the spectrum.
Sure.
A lot of my guys are the most, not on my team, but subcontractors and whatnot. They're shy and quiet, or wife beater and jorts and cigarettes in their mouth. They're not like the guy who is going to show you, sales for an insurance company.
Tattooing can be the same way too. It doesn't necessarily have the most hospitable reputation. A lot of tattoo artists are sometimes rude. And this isn't speaking for the entire industry or for every artist or for every shop. But in general, it's got a very intimidating reputation, and not the most friendly shit. If you don't walk into a shop where you know somebody and you don't know exactly what you want, a lot of the times you don't get treated the best, And I know that firsthand from going and walking into shops myself, and then also a lot of clients walking into my place saying, you're the third person I hit up. I went to 2 other people, and they said they didn't want to draw me something. If I didn't have a picture of what I wanted, they weren't going to do it, And
I'm telling you, bro, I told this, not to cut you off, I told this to someone the other day. You see all these inspirational clips like, really, it's not that hard to fucking win, everyone sucks. But literally, I think across the board, like the last 5 years, I think COVID was really the shaker.
Yeah.
But like everyone's standard of what okay is in professional life is just like shit the bed. Like, I don't give a fuck. It's cool not to give a fuck. You're like, you show up to work, fuck the guy who's the manager, fuck the owner. They're taking advantage of us. Like, that's the ambiance behind it. And I'm not saying that across the board, but I'm saying there is an aura there. And it just, like, pisses me off when I go to somewhere or I'm dealing with a professional and they're so nonchalant about everything. I'm not saying you have to be chronically stressed or fucking crying at every problem, but take your job seriously, or do never complain about getting a promotion or a raise. Or if you aren't doing above your job measures, you are not going to get a promotion. To lose weight, you have to diet and exercise for a long time, then you lose the weight. To do anything in life, you have to water the seed for fucking a while before it pays off. And people are like, well, I didn't get the promotion because, I'm not doing anything more than what they tell me to do. And I'm like, I get that. But maybe you doing more is A, going to benefit you in a way that you could grow and maybe outgrow your company and get another better job at a better company is going to treat you better. Or B, if you want to grow internally, do above what you are, make yourself unreplaceable, and then the payoffs will come unless you work for an absolute cocksucker.
Yeah,
That-
well, why would any business owner give someone a promotion that's doing the bare minimum or just doing what's asked of them? They hired you for that position, and if all you're gonna do is what's asked of that position, then why do you deserve a better position?
Correct.
So, I mean, I think I've had that conversation with JoJo and plenty of other people. If you want to receive more and you want to be treated better, you should expect to have to go above and beyond, because who is rewarding people doing the bare minimum or just exactly what they were hired to do for? Because that's what's expected. That's why I hired you.
And the realist interpretation of this is literally to continue back full circle to where we were with the timeline of this build out and what this has done. Okay, so from October to the beginning of January, I fucking lived in this area. I've probably spent more hours here than home. I'm not even joking. And it was a lot of working and no final product, no bear of the fruit, no anything. It was just work and work and work. And only a few people knew I was doing it. So it wasn't like I was getting hit up randomly and saying, "Hey, man, I heard you're working this Saturday. I'm proud of you." And so rolling into this year, I kind of continued that momentum. I was still working, 6 days a week, and I made sure I come in on Saturdays now with hiring another employee. And you have to be on top of it, and you have to be able to give direction to your team and not only show them physically what's going on, but mentally make sure that they're working with power tools or whatever it is. There's a lot of integrated things with construction, and it was amazing to see what happened. To attest to Marshall Morgan, he talked about 1,000 straight days he worked, and literally in 4 years he opened 10 offices and he grew amazingly. And I don't think I could ever do 1,000 days, because even like he said, don't do it.
Right, he didn't recommend it.
But when you literally commit yourself to something that hard, in my opinion, of a realist mindset, there is no way it doesn't work, or you don't even slowly succeed. Some people lose weight faster than others. But if you diet and exercise, you will slowly lose weight, right? It'll just happen slower. I don't think there is any losing when you commit yourself to something 100%. So I came into this new year. Greg came on the second week of January. At that point, I decided the second week of February, 2 more were going to be coming on my team. My office manager, Zareta, shout out to Z. She is the absolute best. And Tanner Morse, who
shout out to Tanner,
is just, I can't even put into words how much. I'll continue to say my team. I don't like the word employees. It makes me feel like looking down. They know they wouldn't get offended by it at all. But the respect, the energy, what they wake up every day and come to work with, as far as perspective and no ego. They want to learn more. If they have a question, they'll ask you. And same in return. I have no ego as the boss. If someone comes to me with an issue and they think they could do it better, absolutely. Whatever in the end of the day makes the whole machine better as a company, let's do that. And
you said something I really liked at dinner tonight as far as the new team goes, when you were talking about all the new guys and how you're really happy with how we can all hang out like that. It's Greg's birthday, so we all went out for Greg's birthday. And you mentioned that you really like how you are all friends, and you can look at that table and say, we all work really hard and we work really well together, but we're also friends. Yeah. And I think that's something that I really like to hear you say, because if we looked back 8 months ago to a podcast episode, and maybe it hasn't even been said in a podcast, I'm not sure, but even in private conversations with you and I, you were worried about that at one time, where you didn't want to have employees over for dinner because you didn't want to cross that barrier of boss to employee, worrying that it was going to, make disciplining harder, or, it would change the way they worked or something like that. And I think you've really come full circle in that aspect as far as the team you have now. They love you, dude, because you guys are boys, but I think that and it's the same way I like to approach managing at the restaurants, where I didn't want to be a dictator running the restaurant, but I wanted everyone to be almost on the same level playing field, but knowing that
All I am is the head of the snake.
there's
That's all I
mutual
am.
respect across the whole team,
That's it.
you know. And at the end of the day, I was the one that was put in charge to make the calls, but I'm going to hear what you have to say, and I respect everything that you guys do. And it was really cool to hear you say that at that dinner tonight, just because it's quite different from the way I think you felt,
Yeah.
you know, just 6 to 8 months ago.
Yeah.
But I think it's the correct mindset. Where I mean, I think I even told you in that conversation we had where you were worried about having an employee over for dinner, and crossing that boss to friendship line. And I told you, like, you can be friends with the people that work for you. That doesn't mean you have to lower your standards and expectations, you know. And if anything, that person's going to respect you that much more because they look at you as a friend, and they don't want to let you down. And I want to commend you a little bit for that, because I love to see you kind of
compliment. Get out of here.
yeah, dude. I love to see you make that turn. That was really nice when you said that.
I'm not an emotional person, but I've gotten emotional about like this. Again, when you put so much into something and then you see it start come together or become real or whatever it is, it's just so fucking cool. But my whole thing about leading is I say it's not a fucking motivational hashtag. Lead from the front. That's my whole concept with being a business owner and being a leader, and showing people firsthand. I'm going to be along your side every step of this way. I'm going to be working just as hard, if not harder, every step of this way. And we are in this together, a tribe mentality of I could lean on the person to my left and to my right and know that they're going to be there, not on just for the good days, but like Greg's family dog passed a month ago. And I was in the middle of running and picking something up, and he called me at 10 a.m. He goes, hey, man, my family dog just passed. You know, I'm going to go over there. And before he even finished, I said, leave, go home. And that type of mutual respect where it's, listen, when we go to work, it's time to fucking work. And the one thing to your point was I was worried about being too friendly with the guys, because at some point you have to say uncomfortable things and put people in place and demand expectations. And when you're two boys with someone, you're being like, bro, what the fuck you talking about, you know? And I ultimately do have two sides of my personality. I have my professional side, I think we all do, and I have my goofy ass, fucking Ron Burgundy ass Nick at home.
Yours are much more polar opposite of each other, I think.
They
than
are
some.
extremely polar. I think I have multiple personality disorder, but
I wouldn't put disorder on the end of it.
but I know that in the end of the day, when I come to work, it's not unfortunately. I think over the years and as our bond grows more and more, you could show that side. But in the end of the day, you have to show up knowing what's going on, leading the people, giving everyone direction because your team needs direction. And then ultimately, I am not a micromanager. So give the direction and then step away and watch from afar. Make sure no one's going to fall off the cliff, but let them get to the edge and see what it looks like. And learn by doing the work. And that grassroots foundation of everyone paying their dues. Kevin's paying his dues, Greg's paying his dues, and Tanner's paying their dues, and they're all in 3 different positions. Mm-hmm. And I'm the owner of the business, and I'm taking out demo carts today. And when you have a leader, in this case, them looking at me, you can't say, fuck that guy, he's making all the money and just sitting at his ass at home.
Right.
You can't say, fuck it, man, I'm tired today, I'm going to half-ass it. Nick was at the office from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. How the fuck are you, bitch? And to that point, I think there's that respect there from them to I, because they know that, A, I care about them so fucking much, but B, I am in this wild ride with them, not from the top looking down, but with them in the boat. And
that it's absolutely the right way to handle it, dude. Coming from my perspective, where at 19 I was the GM at Kachina, and I had employees there that were 30 years old and had been working there for 10 years, so it was like, in my mind initially, it's like, how the fuck do I gain respect from a person like this who probably knows way more than I do about this restaurant and has more experience than 50% of my life. And that was really the way to go about it, was just put in the work and lead by example. It's not that I'm just the boss and I'm going to sit in the corner of the room and bark orders, but I'm going to bust tables. I'm going to run food. I'm going to take orders. When a table needs something, I'm not going to say, okay, yeah, sure, let me grab your server. I'm going to go put that order in for them. And I think that regardless of the industry you work in, that translates to the staff where they see, okay, this guy, I was in a full suit and tie taking out trash to the dumpster, and that translates to all the staff that is doing those jobs, from the servers to the hostess to the busboy, of this guy knows what he's doing because he's willing to put in the work also, and it doesn't demand that respect, but it earns that respect.
And when you think about it this way, I know I go back to Babylonian times all the time, but when you think about it this way, of like George Washington literally leading his army into a battle, from like he's the fucking head guy with a sword,
Yeah.
and how it used to be, that was the expectation. If you are the leader, if you're ruling the show, you're fucking showing face,
Yeah.
And though a lot of things are automated now with technology, and you could do Zooms and everything, and you could work from different places, being present is everything, I think, to being a leader, at least in my case. I mean, you could talk to my people without me being there, but I from what I understand, they're the happiest they've ever been in a professional setting. Things like Kevin's girlfriend saying to me, this is the happiest I've seen him since I've been with him. Stuff like that. The business needs to make money, but fuck the money. That's the shit that I still think about to this day.
Yeah,
That's
right.
the shit that on the days that I don't want to, do this stuff, it's not just about me anymore. And it's like being a parent. It's not just about being you. You got a kid, right? So it's not just about me. It's about making sure that everyone involved here is maximizing their potential and what they can do in this world. Because that's my biggest kicker is, listen, you could work a 9 to 5 from 25 to 60 years old, kind of fucking hate it, kind of like it, whatever, 401k, insurance, retire, and whatever. Or we could fucking put nitrous in this bitch and just see how far it goes, you know. And we could try to maybe change the wave of our family, or maybe try to inspire, or whatever it is, right? Ultimately, I became a little bit more selfish, and again, becoming more linear. I care about the people around me now in my circle. Of course, I want everyone in the world to succeed and be happy, but that's my focus. Mm-hmm. And with that, a big thing, and to the last point of this whole, leader spiel, it's just like appreciating. The 5 of them, before we went to Stormhouse across the street today, we were in the office and we were all just kind of chatting, and I looked at all of them and I said, hey guys, I want to let you know something. From the bottom of my heart, I appreciate you so fucking much, and I want to let you know that, I had this vision in my head of what this would be in the future, the now, when it was all happening in January and February. And even on the best dream of that vision, it is much less than what it is now. It has exceeded my expectations so much. Their communication between the members, and just to see it all come together, man. But I said to them, I said, listen, as we continue to grow and push, I'm gonna ask for a lot. I said, you guys know I don't like being comfortable. We're gonna continue to grow. But with that, I want to thank you for understanding that and for showing up every day and busting your ass. Mm-hmm. And it's that appreciation that I think a lot of bosses don't have.
Sure. No, I think that's a crucial part too. In maintaining that respect from your team is not forgetting when to be appreciative of the team, and give them that recognition that they deserve. When, the team is working well together, and, just like your message today to them, that doesn't go unnoticed, where when those conversations aren't happening, it's like, man, I've been busting my ass for this guy and I haven't heard thank you, like, ever,
Typically, employees get compliments or attempted raises when they quit. That is the only time. Oh my God, Nick, we love you so much. You're the best contractor in the world. Why would you leave us? What can we pay you? Yeah. Why do you wait till someone is about to break up with you to treat them right? Why do you wait till an employee's literally putting in their 2 weeks to say, okay, you're amazing. We can't do this without you. What do you need? Yeah. And my whole thing is catch that from the jump. what, you know,
And give the praise when it's deserved,
Yeah.
you know, which is more often than not the whole time that they're working for you, you know,
Yeah.
periodically. It's not like every day has to be an ass kissing competition, but periodically, like you've, you know, just done, give that appreciation that's deserved.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get forgotten by those people that are working for you. And it's more often than not goes a lot further than you think it would, you know?
and that's what, and here's the thing.
It's a morale thing.
It's a morale thing. And we have an extremely high standard. My father is OCD, which has created me to be an OCD type of finish, you know, as a tattoo artist. OCD type of
You have no
detail,
option but to do it
but
perfectly.
to do it perfectly. And that's what my dad has cultivated in me. So our standard is annoyingly high to the point where if we see something a little off, no one, 99.9% of the people wouldn't catch it, but we know it's there, so it's gonna get fixed. Period. Every single day, our job site, you could eat a fucking crumb off the floor, and our
And
standard is
Nick
very,
eats food off the floor too. We've had people vouch for that.
20-second rule.
Tuna salad from the gas station.
Just, that's okay. A little judgy there, Pete. All right. But fuck, that just threw me way off.
Sorry.
I heard tuna salad. I got
I'm
triggered.
sorry.
Okay. Fuck, man.
Something great that you also said today, that I think is another crucial part of being a leader that's respected by your team and not just commanding respect, is you mentioned that Tanner brought up something that he didn't agree with as far as procedures. You know, I don't like the way that we do estimates. And there's two ways for you as the boss to approach that and go, well, I've been doing estimates this way for 5 years. You know, I think it's pretty good.
Yeah. We have $2 million in sales this year.
Yeah,
Fuck off.
you.
Yeah,
What
yeah,
What the
yeah.
fuck do you know about how we do estimates?
Yeah.
But that wasn't the response, right? It was okay, and then you have a dialogue about it, and you have a conversation. And I think that was a huge thing for me as well when I was a young manager. You know, managing a staff of 25 employees at 19 years old, knowing that I'm not going to get the respect off rip. I walked into that job going, what do we need to do better, you know? And when an employee comes to you saying, this is something I think we can improve, I'm not saying the answer has to be, okay, yes, let's do your idea, but you need to at least entertain that conversation and hear them out, understand why they feel the way they feel, and you're either going to know the answer to why we don't do it that way, or let's give that a try, and if it doesn't work, we'll revert back to our old ways, but let's give it an opportunity
Correct.
and hear out your staff, because most of the time they're the one in the field doing.
They're on the front lines.
They see why there's a justification behind why they feel the way they feel. You know, they're not just coming up with it to cause problems most of the time. They're seeing a shortcoming, and they want to help the company do better and adjust from that.
Absolutely. And literally to that point, so he said, Nick, can I be honest with you? I said, absolutely. He said, I looked at our proposals, and I don't really like the layout of it. I said, to be honest with you, I don't necessarily disagree. With that being said, I have obviously been quite busy, and it has been something I've been able to dedicate time to. But I agree with you. And thank you for telling me this the way you feel and communicate that to me. So it's not like this little thing that you're holding on to.
And being an employee that's been working with you for less than a month, that's not an easy thing to
No,
do.
it's
Say,
a hard
hey, boss, I think we're falling short somewhere.
And that was funny because that was my first thing was like, damn, that took some balls.
This kid's got balls.
Yeah. But made me so happy because he felt comfortable enough to go to the guy that you just joined,
Right.
and be that honest with him. And I said, listen, I 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
I loved it because he communicated, but B, I loved it because it showed uncontentness.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I had what I thought was the most perfect contract in the world or proposal,
Sure.
we have someone who's saying, okay, I read it, I digested it, and we could do better. And that type of mindset you cannot fucking mess with.
And you can't teach it either.
You can't teach it, but it is contagious. That
Yeah.
is the thing. That type of mindset's contagious. So even though some people aren't as detail-oriented, because it is a specific thing that takes either A, a lot of time, like me and my dad, 7 years, or B, you have to be surrounded by it constantly, or, you get it naturally. And when you are around that attention to detail, what happens is over time, your standard keeps rising and rising and rising and rising. And then Pete, his standard's extremely high. He'll go to a random tattoo shop, walk in and say, holy fuck, I've been working by myself in my own lane. My standard kept getting higher and higher. People give me compliments. But then I just saw someone else's work and said, holy fuck, I am really high, you know, like,
Yeah.
and that is the thing is when you just focus on ourselves, what can we do? People talk about competition. Listen, no offense to my competition. I want to be the best in Palm Beach County, in South Florida. I'll be straight up about it. But I am so focused on us. What are we doing today to be better? What am I doing today to be the best leader? And what are you doing today to be the best part of this chain? And focus on today, win today. In the first 2 months of this year, I've gotten 12 serious leads on calls. And serious leads to the point of, Nick, we got recommended to you guys. This is our budget. We want you to start. When can you start? And it was full circle back to that initial point of it was 3 fucking months of straight work, of not seeing anything. And then now looking at this, seeing, oh my God, the team's getting a well. We're crushing work. These guys are caring and dedicating mental and physical time to this. Zoraida in the office is so beyond my expectations, it's ridiculous. Everything is working. We are getting the jobs, the leads, the calls, the sales, the rapport that I wanted. Holy fuck, you know? And it's such an aha moment. At that same point, now that my standard with the amount of time and effort I put into it is there, sometimes I get a little bit of a separation anxiety, and sometimes it is hard stepping away. When you're going so fast for so long and pushing those RPMs of 7 days a week, pulling off and taking off a weekend, you almost feel this separation anxiety of like, I'm not doing enough. Or shit, I'm not being the best. What I am very happy with and how I've matured a lot over these past 5 months. I think, I'm not saying I'm different, but I am. Things have changed in my life, and I think I'm different for the better. But I've matured a lot, and to see that come into play on the day to day, and to see it all come together, it's just really cool, and it's a testament to just putting in a lot of work, and then don't worry about the result. Nonetheless, kind of just worry about the process, and just focusing on today, and the stress of not working or working, that's something that I'm working on all the time. It's an active fight in my brain of, it's 8 p.m., I'm getting an email or a call from a client. Do I take it? Do I not? How do I be present with my wife when I'm getting a call for an emergency? And it's ultimately what we signed up for, again, to communication. I had that conversation with my wife before we got married. And I said, hey, I just want to let you know, this is the professional path I took. I'm not a 9 to 5, call salesman. I'm crazy about this, and this is my world. And now I have 4 people's livelihoods on me, and that's not something I take lightly at all. So I think that was kind of amazing. I loved our conversation.
No, I agree. I think so too.
I feel right back at home.
And just to reiterate something that I think we kind of talked about at the very beginning of us creating this podcast, none of this dialogue is us preaching that we think we're experts in business or that we know everything and have it figured out. It's quite the opposite in that we're just going through it right now, and we're experiencing so many things as far as building a business as a young person. And just vocalizing what we're going through and how we're dealing with it. None of this is us saying we have the formula and you need to listen to what we're doing and follow in our footsteps. It's just us, literally thinking out loud as far as how we're dealing with the problems that we're going through on a daily basis.
Again, one of our main values with this podcast and I think points is open transparency from us people who, again, live in a world that everything is perfect, and have that transparency of it not being fun or easy or great sometimes. I mean, you might saw Pete open in the biz. You didn't know the 19 headaches we had to deal with fucking building this place out. You didn't. Yeah. But here's, in the end of the day, no one gives a shit.
Yeah, right. It's part of it.
Your problem is your problem. You got to deal with it. Yeah. And everyone's got their own set, man. And there's 2 options. You could say, well, I got a worse set and argue about that of problems, or you could say the world's mean to me and no one else has problems. The reality is everyone does. Some people talk about it and some people fucking don't.
Yeah.
And to your point, yes, it's not us sitting on a pedestal saying, be like us or we're the best. It's literally us saying, this is what we're doing, and it's an open conversation, and it's us being real. and in a world that I think needs more open communication and real talk.
Yeah.
And that's the point here. Guys, we're going to start bringing on guests again, local people that have, impacts and influence, and that mean a lot to the local community, and we're excited to do that.
And for that same reason we were just saying, it's another perspective, too, because like, we don't have it all figured out, and it's nice to bring on other people who are either, more successful than us or going through the same process as us or, dealing with whatever it is they're dealing with and getting their insight, because we're still figuring it out as we go. Yeah. And that is, I think, such an overlooked and, like, underexposed advantage by just communicating with other people that are kind of going through a similar path, no matter what industry it is. But building a business, you deal with a lot of the same hurdles in every industry across the board. And sometimes hearing it from a different perspective or from, another industry's experience will give you that light bulb moment of, oh shit, this is what I've been overlooking.
Or comfort of, oh my God,
I'm not alone.
I'm dealing with all this
Right.
annoying bullshit
Hell
of
yeah.
Sunbiz and tax receipts and this and that. Holy fuck, someone else is dealing with this bullshit too. Yes.
Right, 100%.
Yes, a lot of people are dealing with that. It's not easy. It's none of this. You go to the IRS website, you're like, dude, is this 2002? Like, none of this is simple or easy. There's no handbook for how to open a business.
Yeah.
And you can talk to a tax professional or a business lawyer, but again, you're paying for that. And so you could Google, that's going to tell you 1,000 different things. And then also you throw in the real life element of a lot of people being really fucking stupid or not giving a shit. And it's hard to deal with something when you give everything towards it and you're dealing with people who really couldn't give less of a fuck. Yeah. And so I'm super excited, guys. If you want to come on, reach out. We're always looking for, again, people who are looking to build a better life or have built a better life, and just talk about our past and our lives. Yeah. And I want to give a big shout out to In the Biz Inc., guys. It's Pete's shop here. He's too humble to talk about it, but it's the most beautiful and clean shop. And I swear to God, I've had 80-year-old clients in my office look at it and say, holy shit. I swear to God, they said, holy shit.
Thanks,
and
man.
It's got a clean, slick, and look to it. And on top of that, it's probably the most professional place I've ever seen as far as tattoo studios. So, follow In the Biz Inc., guys. He's about a month booked out, I believe. But
yeah.
If you want a tattoo, if you don't come here, I don't know what else to tell you. And so, In the Biz Inc. was the name you decided, by the way.
Yep.
And
final verdict.
It's one of those things where, like, you hear a baby name, and at first you're like, and then you see it, and you're like, okay, I love it.
Yeah, it's grown on me. It was one of those things where we talked about it in our last episode we recorded. I bounced so many other things around in my head, but at the end of the day, that was the one that I always came back to and was like, I like that the most, you know? And now that this is what it is, between the story behind it and just the ring to it, I think it just makes the most sense. I'm really grateful for how it all worked out.
I love it. Guys, that is it for this week. It was an update episode. This is season 2 of the Millennial Mentality. We are so excited to be back with you and to be connecting with you guys again. Thank you for watching, listening, viewing, and subscribing. Please continue to tell your friends and family about us. It means the world. If you could, follow Agnelli Enterprise and In the Biz Inc. on social media platforms, along with the Millennial Mentality. And we love you guys. We will see you next week. Peace.
Peace.
That was awesome,
That was so good, dude.
Yeah, that was fun.
Good shit. Back like we never left.
But I've been outside getting money, I'm on my thug again. Tryna stack a little dub, tryna catch a win. And next time I drop a coupe, it's gonna be a twin turbo. Always been a G, but I ain't never been a herb though. Way I'm switching lanes.